I want to talk a little bit about what the Mavs did because, they're an interesting team right now. Obviously, you could argue they have the most talented backcourt in the NBA. They had P.J. Washington. Do you like that addition?
Very much. Both moves they made, Gafford and P.J. Washington. And it hasn't gotten a lot of talk today because some other stories than what the Knicks did really kind of overwhelmed everything. But when I look at Dallas, and let's start with Gafford, first of all. Wizards are a mess, obviously. That might be the most hopeless situation in the entire league. When you just look at upside of their roster and just where they're headed. I mean, they don't even have a coach right now. Like,
they're moving out of the city.
Gafford stands out as a guy that he competes. He plays hard.
Athletic.
He's athletic. He's got more size. Dallas desperately needed that. And P.J. Washington, look, Grant Williams, I really liked when he went there. Wasn't fitting in. He wasn't making shots. He had lost confidence. He didn't have the defensive impact that I was hoping he was going to have. So you go get P.J. Washington. Similar physical profile. P.J. Washington just a little bit more, I think, of an all-around accomplished guy. And then Gafford gives them some size and athletic ability in the middle. I just think they got deeper and better in the front court.
Dallas went and got Daniel Gafford from the Wizards today. Yesterday, the day before, they were trying to get Kyle Kuzma in a trade and ultimately couldn't get there with Washington. Washington and Michael Winger, Will Dawkins, their front office, they were not eager to part with Kyle Kuzma. They love him being a part of that organization, the influence he has on the younger players, and he keeps them certainly more functional as they're going through this rebuild. He just signed a new 4-year deal this offseason. Now, maybe down the line, I'm sure they're going to revisit that. But when Dallas couldn't get Kuzma, they then pivoted toward P.J. Washington. They went back on the Daniel Gafford and got that size. But I disagree with you on one thing about it being hopeless in Washington. I think they finally have a direction in Washington. It's a rebuild, right? And they're picking up draft picks. Listen, second-round picks in the Bradley Beal, Michael Winger, Will Dawkins. They didn't sign Bradley Beal to that contract. They didn't give him a no trade. But they inherited it. They had to deal with it. But you're starting to see them pick up draft picks going into this rebuild. And they're building this. Listen, they're going to bottom out and they're going to rebuild it. These are two executives who spent a lot of time in Oklahoma City in their career. Michael Winger was with the Clippers when they rebuilt that organization around Kawhi, Paul George. And so I think for a long time, the Wizards were where people fear the Bulls are right now, chasing the 8, 9, 10, 7 seed, stuck in the middle. That's where the Wizards were, and I think they made a decision. We have to set a course, but it's painful for a few years.
Well, and you might be right, but it's going to come down to when it's a tangible asset, what these picks turn into. Because I look at Detroit, I look at San Antonio, and you go, okay, you've got a Cade Cunningham. You've got a Victor Wembanyama. At least you go, okay, this is what the ceiling of these players potentially could be. They don't have that right now. They have picks. They've bottomed out. Let's see what they turn into.
Yeah, they're hoping their rookie hit on their rookie, Bilal Coulibaly, who you've seen some flashes here, but if you had a disappointing year with Jordan Poole, certainly Kyle Kuzma has had his good moments, but you have to have kind of that that foundational piece. Like Indiana goes out and gets Tyrese Halliburton. You can build around that. But just kind of real quick, piggybacking on Dallas, and I agree with Tim. I thought they were a big winner today, just because you have to do everything possible with Luka.
Yes.
To continually put talent around them, and now they're
and the right kind of talent around
right,
them.
And their draft picks, they're strapped, right? Like from a guy who's traded a lot of draft picks, they are strapped. Like there is nothing left in the kitty here, right? But you got two guys that are on contracts with Gafford, who's got 3 or 4 years left, and P.J. Washington's got 3 years left, and they're like a baseball analogy. They're like 6th and 7th inning relief pitchers, right? Guy comes in, get 3 outs. You don't really talk about them, but they'll come in and certainly guys you can use in the playoffs, or maybe not, and especially for a team that's been injury plagued all year here.
Yeah.
And I was told too that Luka Doncic was very enthusiastic about the idea of landing P.J. Washington. I think that was a little bit of a motivating factor, that he was excited about the possibility of getting him at this trade deadline to add him to this team to make a run. I'm on fire. It's NBA,